When we're practicing letting go, a lot of people think that they're letting go of an idea, they're letting go of a thought, of an emotion, of a past experience, of their past, of their potential future, of a person. But what we're always really letting go of is self, is the idea of a personal self. We're letting go of this false identity. The most important thing that we can ever understand while we're here in this human body is that we are not what we think we are. And I know that sounds so strange, but it is the most important thing to become aware of your true nature, of the real you. And the real you is not a body, it's not a mind, it's not your thoughts, it's not your emotions. The real you is the formless aspect of you that you may or may not have become aware of, but it's the part of you that is always there, that is never changing. It's the you that is aware of what's happening. It's the you that is aware of all of the experiences that you're having. It's that relationship of subject and object. You are the subject, you being the awareness, and everything else is the object. Your thoughts are objects, emotions are objects, experiences are objects, your body is an object. Everything else other than awareness is an object. And you are the subject. You are the one experiencing. You are the one witnessing. You are the one that is aware of everything that's happening to you in your life. So, this notion of letting go is really letting go of your identification with things that aren't you. And I'm realizing that this is the most important thing that we ever need to understand, ever. Because once you understand what you are, once you get a taste of what you really are, then everything else falls into place. Then there's no going back. Then you realize what is so fundamentally true, and you realize that the approach that you've been taking to try to solve all of the problems that you're having has never worked. And you realize why. And it's because you've been identifying with things that aren't you. And that's what's causing your suffering. So, in this video, I want to go really, really deep into understanding what it is that we actually are, what it is that we're actually letting go of when we're letting go, and why this is so incredibly important because it's your freedom, it is your liberation when you understand what it is that you are and when you understand what it is that you're not. But before I get into the video, if at any point you find that this information is helping you, then please share it, like it, subscribe so we can spread the word and help as many people as possible. And lastly, I'm passionate about helping you. So if what I'm saying is resonating with you, then please reach out to me. I'll leave my email in the description box below, and I would be happy to set up a time to work together. So without further ado, let's get into the video. The chemistry of self. When I think about this idea of being a self, of being a person, of having a story attached to who it is that I am, Margot, she grew up in New York, she was born there, she became a dancer, she has two children, on and on and on it goes. When I think of myself as that, as this personal idea of a self, that part of me or that idea of me is the only thing that ever has a problem because life is happening, right? There are all these things that are happening all the time that are outside of us. And then there's this inner world that's happening inside of us. Now, the only time I have a problem with something is when I have a problem inside. So it's really what is it that I'm feeling that I don't like? What is it that this thing that's happening outside of me is doing to me, right? Doing to this personal self that is making me feel uncomfortable. So it makes sense that most people are trying to fix what's happening outside so that they're not bothered on the inside. And that's the approach that most people take. So what do we try to do? We try to control all of the things that are happening on the outside so that we're feeling better inside. But what's really happening is that we've identified with this story, with this personal self, with all of the things that make up what it is that you think you are. And then we decide, we have like a list, it's almost like an unspoken list of things that we know are going to bother us or we know that we're going to like. And when the outer world doesn't check those boxes, it doesn't fit that list of stuff, we spend all of our time, really all of our time, trying to figure out how to make sure that things are lining up in a certain way so that it doesn't affect us negatively. Or trying to line things up in a certain way so that it affects us positively. But I want you to think about this for a moment because it's so important. What would happen if you didn't have that concept of you? If you threw out the list of things that you needed or that you thought you needed in order to be happy? What would happen if you just completely let go of this idea of what it is that you think you are? Who would you be? And what are you without that idea, without that story, without all of these experiences that you think make up who you are? If you really start to listen to how people talk about themselves or what it is that they think they are, they've latched onto this idea of, I'm a person who does this. I'm a disciplined person. I'm a lazy person. I have to have my coffee. I love doing this, that, or the other thing. I loathe doing this, that, or the other thing. It's basically a list of preferences that people have and beliefs, which are just thoughts that people think over and over and over again, and it becomes who they are. It's almost like you can imagine yourself inside of a box, and inside of it are all these thoughts, these ideas, these beliefs that people have about who they think they are. I'm an ambitious person. I'm going to make this happen. I'm going to do this in the future. I want to get married. I want to have children. I want to have a boyfriend. And the list goes on and on. And all of these thoughts, all of these beliefs are swirling around people inside this little fixed box. And the way that they're looking through the world is through this little box, through these little peepholes inside the box that are filtering through all of these beliefs that they have about what they think they are. Now, what would happen if you let go of the box entirely? If you just drop the entire thing and all of the beliefs inside of it, what would be left? Ask yourself, who am I without all of the things I think I am? What's left? So, if I were to explain how to actually let go of your personal self, what needs to happen is really, really, really simple. We remember what it is that we are all the time. And when I say all the time, I mean all the time. I mean, remind yourself of what you are as much as humanly possible, as much as you can remember. Put little post-its on your mirror, on your wall, on your desk, on your chair, in your bag. I don't care what you have to do. Remind yourself that you are awareness, that you are not the personal self. Set a timer on your phone to go off so that you can remind yourself, I am not the personal self. I am the awareness that is aware of being aware. And what we do when these alarms go off, when we see these little post-its as reminders, what we're remembering is, can I remind myself that what I am is awareness? So, in other words, can you remember that you being awareness is now becoming aware of itself? Become aware of the fact that you are aware. You are awareness itself. For starters, the most important thing you can do to free yourself, to get yourself out of feeling horrible, of feeling identified with these things that you are not, you need to remember what you are. And the way that you do that is by reminding yourself, bringing yourself back, taking that awareness and not allowing it to get distracted by the things that it's being aware of. This is what all spiritual sadhanas or practices are doing. Meditation is allowing you to see that awareness. It's allowing you to quiet all of your senses, to withdraw your attention from seeing, from hearing, from thinking, right? That's a much harder one because even when you close your eyes and you close your ears, which is actually one of the meditations that I practice every day, you're still able to think, you're still able to have thoughts, you're still able to identify with those thoughts and emotions. But the point of meditating is to see the reflection of yourself, of that state of awareness, of that state of being. That's what we're practicing. I really want you to hear this because it's so important. Once you get this, you will taste freedom. Once you get this, then it's just a matter of practicing this over and over and over again until you become really good at it. And when you get really good at it, then, like I've talked about in previous videos, you get into that state of equanimity. You feel calm, you feel peaceful. Whatever happens out there doesn't disturb what you feel in here. It doesn't mean that you don't feel things. It doesn't mean that you stop experiencing life. Just the opposite, because you stop resisting what is. You allow everything to pass through, and yet it doesn't bother you. It doesn't stick. It doesn't have a hold on you because you don't resist it. You don't suppress it. Because you don't resist it, you allow yourself to experience it fully. So you're actually living your life so fully because every experience you have is coming in and going out. It's coming in and passing through. And when you do that, you are really living in a present way. You're not somewhere else. Your awareness, what you are, isn't being dragged off or stuck or held in certain emotions and thoughts and experiences in the past and the potential future. No, you're actually very present. You're actually experiencing what is. So when you're doing this, when you're not identifying with what your awareness is being aware of, then you're living a very, very different life. You're living a very different state of being. You're living with the awareness of what you are, trapped in distraction. What is incredible about awareness, about what we are, is that it's capable of becoming anything. It's capable of identifying with anything. We can become a body. We can become our thoughts. We can become our feelings. We can become our situations, our experiences. And that's an incredible thing. But that is what causes us pain. It's what causes us suffering, is not realizing what we are. So, in order to liberate ourselves from pain and suffering, which is what everybody wants, right? Nobody wants to feel bad. Everybody wants to feel happy, and not just happy some of the time. Fleeting happiness is not what we're after. We're after lasting happiness. And that lasting happiness comes from knowing what you are. Because the moment that you realize, the moment you have a taste of what it is that you are, there's no more going back. Because you realize, holy shit, you've been duped this whole time. Sometimes I feel like I want to tell people, do you realize that you're playing a video game? Life is like virtual reality. It's like this video game. We have an avatar, this body, and we think that we are the player. We think that that's us, but we get so sucked into being the video game, being the player, having the experience in the video game, that we think that that's what we are. And if we could just wake up and see that we're having a very similar experience to a video game while we're here on Earth. The video game is a return to God. It's self realization, it's God realization. But most people who are playing this video game are lost in the video game. And it's a really hard video game because how do you remember that? You've got some people that have made it to the end of the video game, or they've liberated themselves, or they've figured out something in the video game that allows them to be free of playing the video game. And those masters of the video game are telling us that you're not the player in the video game. You're the awareness that's experiencing this video game. The same thing happens to us when we dream at night. Every single night when I go to sleep, I have vivid, vivid dreams every night. And my dreams are so real that they feel no different than my day to day waking life. I mean, no different. And I wake up every morning and I think, God, where am I going? This is insane. How am I experiencing wind in my face and touching like a thin piece of string? And all of these things that I'm experiencing in my dream state are exactly like my waking state. Now, the only constant is that I am the awareness that is experiencing the dream state and the waking state. That's what I am. That's what we all are. Freeing yourself of the personal self. So, the way that we can become aware of awareness is by hanging out with it, by allowing yourself to become aware of the fact that you are aware, right? So, try to notice that whenever you're experiencing something, who is the one experiencing it? What is the awareness that's aware of this experience? And this is why meditation is so critical because most people say, well, I can just think of my entire life as a meditation. And sure, that's true. But what tends to happen is that most people don't do that very well. Most people get sucked into whatever it is that they're doing. They lose the sense of awareness that they are. They forget about that and they get absorbed, they get pulled by whatever it is that is distracting them. That awareness tends to identify with whatever it is that it's aware of. So if I have a feeling inside that I'm experiencing that I don't like, I tend to think that that's me. I tend to think, well, I'm the one that's feeling that, so that's what I am. But in fact, I'm just the one that's watching that. I'm just the one that's aware of that emotion. So when we meditate, what we're doing is we're carving out, we're prioritizing time to devote ourselves, to devote our awareness to becoming aware of itself, to understanding what that means. And when we sit in stillness and we observe our thinking and we get into that state of being the observer, of being the watcher, the silent watcher, as so many masters talk about, when we get into that state, we give ourselves the opportunity to practice becoming aware of being aware. And when you practice that state enough, then you take that being, that state of presence, that state of realizing that what you are is awareness, and you bring that presence to everything you do. You're aware of that awareness while you're doing things. You're aware of the fact that when you're talking to somebody, what they really are is consciousness, is that awareness, just like you, right? So when I'm talking to somebody, I'm constantly reminding myself this person is also awareness, just like me. And it's the same awareness. And remember, this process of letting go is really just letting go of everything that isn't you, letting go of this idea of what you think you are, this idea of being a personal self, of being the you that you think you are, of being the player in the video game. You're letting go of that. That's what we're letting go of. So I hope this week you can practice this. Let me know what your experience is with this. If you do practice it, I would love to hear from you. And until next time, remember to let go. Let go of trying to be anything other than the truth of what you are.